This Wednesday, July 24th, 2024 meeting of the Richmond Plan Commission is now called to order. Would you please call the roll?
Lynn Clark, Michael Devine,
Here.
Matt Evans, Joe Price,
Here.
Justin Scheiben, Greg Steens,
Here.
Rob Tidrow,
Here.
Gary Turner,
Here.
Tiana Washington,
Here.
Bruce Whistle.
Here. We do have a quorum, and we're able to conduct business since the items on the agenda will be, all be zoning issues. We have 7 members present. In order to proceed with a positive vote for recommendation to council, it takes a majority of the entire body, which is 10 members, so 6 people would have to vote against it. So anyone making a petition or speaking and representing a petition at this time needs to be aware of that limitation. Plan Commission members should have received the minutes of the June 26th meeting in their packets. Do we have any questions or additions? If not, the chair will accept a motion.
I move to approve.
And second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the June 26th minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Proof of publication.
Thank you. We do have a claim paperwork from the newspaper in lieu of a proof of publication. This notice was published in advance. It states the time, date, place, and items on the agenda for tonight's hearing. I would ask the commission to make a motion to accept the claim and proof of publication.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept proof of publication. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business tonight, there is a change to the original agenda. Item SP 6, 2024 has been removed, but we will have SP 2, 2024, which is the petition of WPO Scripture LLC owner, Gordon Moore agent, requesting primary plat approval for a 5-lot subdivision in a medium-density, single-family resident R2 district at 0 South 23rd Street, Richmond, Indiana. Parcel ID is 891809-000.002-028 with a legal description of point southeast 913-1, 10.163 acres. Mr. Moore.
Gordon Moore of the Beals Moore and Associates, 122 South 8th Street. Before we get into this one, you said the second one was removed. It's just tabled, correct?
Or tabled, I'm sorry,
Okay.
yes.
Wanted to make sure because I plan on bringing that back next month.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So we do represent WPO Scripture LLC, owner of the 10 acres on the west side of South 23rd Street, south side of Wernley Road, right directly across from Forest Hills Country Club. I'm sure that most of you have been involved in this property. We've looked at this 2 or 3 times trying to figure out what is the best way to develop this tract. Because of the lack of a sanitary sewer, the Scriptures decided to go with the larger lots. At one time, we had as many as 20 lots proposed for this particular tract, but economically, it just was not feasible to proceed with that plan. There is water on the west side of South 23rd Street. We will be required to extend that water main on Wernley Road to the end of our subdivision. West of our subdivision, as I'm sure you're aware of, is solar panels for about a half a mile. On the north side is Wernley Home, and further to the west of Wernley Home is the detention basin. So the likelihood of development along that particular area to the west of us is probably not going to happen anytime in our future. So on the plat that I gave you on the east side of the road, the county, this is a county highway. We are outside the corporate limit. So the county engineer has shown us where we can and cannot build driveways for these 5 new tracks, and they are shown on the east side of our plat. If I could address the sanitary sewer, because we are asking for a variance to be able to put septic systems in an R2 zoning. To the north, the closest sanitary sewer is approximately 2,100 linear feet, and that's just to get us to the intersection. And it would take about 6 manholes, and it would cost us approximately $250,000 to extend that sanitary sewer. To the west, it's even further, 3,100 linear feet with 7 manholes, and that would be approximately $365,000. In addition, this property has a lot of hills. If you've been to this site, you know that the road's up and down. So it would require we install a lift station to go either to the north side or to the west, and that lift station is estimated anywhere in between $50,000 and an additional $75,000. So you can see what we've been up against in trying to develop this particular track. So that's quick and simple, but if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Have any questions for Mr. Moore?
Just one question on, to clarify, the septic, is it one for the whole group? No, it's individual.
It'll have to be individual. They'll have to take soil borings on each lot, determine a location, and then that will determine what type of septic system will be installed.
Okay.
The traditional or possibly a mound system.
And I take it that the Scripture house is on a separate
It is on a
system.
separate septic system, as well as the small house to the north of the Scripture home.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, that is outside the Richmond Sanitary District, isn't it?
It is. Correct.
Okay, the subdivision ordinance would require it, which is why you're asking for a variance. But the rules extend, if it's at a certain distance, I think there's an opportunity where you don't have to. So it was kind of confusing to me. It looked like it was saying, yes, it had to, and no, it didn't in the same ordinance.
I understand. The state law is if you're within 300 foot, your property line, not just the home itself, but your property line's within 300 linear feet of a sanitary sewer, then you're required by state law to connect. And of course, the sanitary district complies with that as well. So we've had those in the past where we've had to run a sanitary main and extend it to serve certain areas. But in this case, we're exempt from that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Moore?
I just might bring up, I spoke with Gordon, and we wanted to check, make sure the lots were big enough for septic, and they are. So I just,
Yeah, we checked with our health department and the planning office for the county, and they all agreed that we could fit septic systems and a very good-sized home on this lot, because our homes are going to be probably 2,200 square feet and up, starting at 400,000 up. So it tells you the type of development we're looking to have here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Okay, since this is a request for subdivision, does it still have to go on public hearing then with, okay. SB 2, 2024 is on public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the plan? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, public hearing is closed, and we will go to the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. President. SB2 is the petition of WPO Scripture LLC owner, Gordon Moore is the agent, located at 0 South 23rd Street in Richmond, requesting primary plat approval and 1 design standard waiver for a 5-lot subdivision. Current use is vacant agricultural, zoning is medium-density single-family residential, and the total proposed lots are 5 lots. Adjacent zoning to the north is high impact, to the south is medium-density, single-family residential, to the east is parks and recreation, and to the west is institutional. Adjacent land use to the north is institutional, the former Wernley Children's Home. To the south is single-family residential. To the east is commercial, golf course and country club, and vacant support land for another parcel, and to the west is an IMPA solar park. On July 10th, 2024, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. On July 11th, 9 adjacent property owners were notified about the public hearing by mail, and we received 2 responses. Oh, sorry. The other one received 2. We received 0 responses for this one. Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No public health and safety objections were raised. So as Gordon noted, this comes with a design waiver request. This is seeking relief from Article 7.33A1, which states that any new subdivision over 3 lots has to plug into existing sanitary infrastructure. First, we're recommending approval of the requested waiver associated with the primary plat based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the granting of the design waivers will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or otherwise be injurious to other properties, because restriction number 2 on the record plat submitted with this petition states, quote, information pertaining to an approved location for a septic system for each lot is on file with the Wayne County Health Department, and all sewage facilities must comply with the Wayne County Health Department and Indiana State Department of Health. Number 2, the condition upon which the request for a design waiver is based are unique to the property for which the design standard waiver is sought, because the parent parcel is not located within the Richmond Sanitary District boundaries and is roughly half a mile from the nearest sanitary gravity main, which limits the petitioner's ability to adhere to Article 7.33A1's requirement to connect to existing sanitary sewer infrastructure. Number 3, because of the particular circumstances, physical surroundings, efforts to conserve natural features, or topographical conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship or practical difficulty to the property owner does result as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of these regulations is enforced. Because, as noted in criterion number 2, there is a considerable distance between the subject property and existing sanitary sewer infrastructure. Strict application of the UDO would create a financial hardship for the petitioner. And number 4, the design waiver does not subvert the provisions in Article 5 development standards, the comprehensive plan, or thoroughfare plan. Article 5.71 sewer and water standards includes a similar requirement related to municipal sanitary sewer connectivity by cross-referencing to the R2 district's development standards. However, it expands on this requirement by noting that connection to sanitary sewer shall be necessary where available, which is identified as within 300 feet of the property line. Existing sewer lines are significantly farther than 300 feet from the parent property lines. Additionally, each of the 5 lots satisfies the county's residential zoning requirement of a 1-acre lot for septic systems. So with that recommendation in mind, then staff recommends approving the primary plat application for the next door living subdivision on South 23rd Street and Warnley Road based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, the subdivision of land is consistent with the Richmond Rising Community Action Plan. The subject property is located at the junction of traditional neighborhood and agricultural/rural residential place types as identified in Richmond Rising's future land use map. The size and character of the proposed lots are consistent with the comprehensive plan's visions for this area as a transition between residential and agricultural uses. Next, the subdivision of land does satisfy the development requirements of Article 6 subdivision types. As noted in the application, the proposed subdivision of land is best classified as a standard subdivision, which is appropriate for 100% residential land use on properties with a base zoning district of R2. Number 3, the subdivision of land does not satisfy the standards of Article 7. The subdivision does not adhere to Article 7.33A1's requirement to provide sanitary sewer utility infrastructure. The waiver request attached to this petition seeks to address this variation from Article 7. The request satisfies all other applicable design standards. Number 4, the subdivision of land does satisfy all other applicable provisions of the UDO. All of the proposed tracts satisfy the minimum area, width, and frontage for lots in the medium-density single-family residential zoning district. Future residential construction is permitted on this site and will be required to satisfy all R2 development standards. And then finally, the subdivision of land does satisfy the construction requirements of the City of Richmond's construction standards. This is not applicable because there's no new infrastructure being built as part of this project. Planning staff does have one recommended amendment to the covenants and the restrictions that are included with the plat. Planning staff recommends that restriction number 6 on the record plat be removed. The restriction states that all farming operations, including but not limited to livestock and field crop operations, may continue to be practiced in the area and waives the right of future owners of these lots to bring claim against such operations. Agricultural uses are not permitted in the R2 district. And then there are 2 written commitments. Number 1, because the proposed subdivision is located within the City of Richmond's extrajudicial territory and outside of the jurisdiction of the Richmond Sanitary District, the site must have a drainage plan approved by the Wayne County Drainage Board prior to filing for secondary plat. And number 2, future development on each lot must receive an improvement location permit from the Department of Infrastructure and Development, along with all relevant Wayne County building permits prior to construction. I also see a note here that we did, in fact, receive 2 responses, so we'll go ahead and hear those now.
We did. One is in favor from Deborah Edelman at 3274 Lantern Trail. We have one that is opposed from Georgia M. McCullough at 2320 Warnley Road with these comments. The plan needs more detail as to how many new homes per each lot. Only one would be good. 1950 has 8 acres with it. Other homes in the area are more R1 than R2. And where will the eventual sewer lines be drilled and installed to connect to city sewer? Restriction of structures on the 2 most northerly lots is recommended for aesthetic, privacy, and safety reasons.
With that, I'd be happy to address any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Purvis? Thank you, Mr. Purvis. Now it's open for discussion among the board members. Any comments, questions? There's no discussion. The board will, or the chair will accept the motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
I'd like to clarify that. Is that with the recommended amendment?
It is.
Okay.
I move to approve all of it.
Okay.
And I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the approval and with the recommended amendment on restriction number 6. Would you please call the roll?
Michael Devine,
Aye.
Joe Price,
Aye.
Greg Steens,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Tiana Washington,
Aye.
Bruce Whissel.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, since he said everything in his motion, that includes the waiver as well, so I want to make sure that gets into the minutes.
Okay. So this does not go to council. This will come back to us on second reading then, or second hearing.
Secondary plat, yes.
Secondary plat.
Secondary plat, thank you. Next, we have the petition of Uranus 3 Land LLC owner Katrina Ann Agent requesting a zoning map amendment to rezone a parcel from institutional IS to general commercial GC at 6400 National Road East, Richmond, Indiana. Parcel ID 89-36-000-204.007-028. Legal description is a point southeast and southeast 36, 14, 1 at 21.806 acres. Hello.
How are you, sir? I'm Louis Keene. I'm the owner. Katrina's back there. I didn't know if I'd be able to be here today, but I am, so I'd
Okay,
be
that's
happy to
fine.
answer
Could we
any
have an
questions.
address for you, please?
I'm sorry, sir.
An address for you?
My home address is,
Okay.
that'd be fine. I'm in Lebanon, Missouri at 20910 Potomac Drive, Lebanon, Missouri.
Okay. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. We're just excited to be here. I found this property and we're having a lot of fun, and I just want to thank you guys for, the mayor has been awesome, and everybody's been awesome. Dustin, you've been awesome too. I don't know what to say. We're going to bring a great business here. Everybody seems to be excited about it, and a lot of tax revenue and a lot of jobs created. So at our other 2 locations, we average about 50 to 60 employees each. This one will be a little bit larger as we go forward. Every employee gets every employee. It doesn't matter whether you're the register or fudge maker or what are you get health insurance, dental vision, 401k. I mean, those are the people that make me the money, not me. So we want to pay them well. Just trying to create good jobs and just have fun.
Okay, so is this
So we have,
strictly retail?
so we have that's what it'll be, retail. So it'll be a big store, candy store. We manufacture our own candy. We do have a candy manufacturing facility in Anderson, Indiana, but we do make all of our own fudge, cotton candy, a bunch of stuff on site every day. We're planning on, we won't do it this year, but next year is moving our warehouse and distribution center here into one of the other buildings. That'll add about 12 more jobs. That's how many we have now. And then we'll just see all those buildings. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm just always wanting to build cool stuff. So.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read the article in the Palladium today,
Okay.
and it says more than your application does about certain things, one of them being the amount of jobs. You've addressed that.
Yeah.
It says that you're going to keep the big cross. Is that
Yes,
a
sir.
fact?
Absolutely. I am a walking testament to the power of Jesus.
Okay.
So I had stage 4 throat cancer last year. And here I am, complete remission, praise the Lord.
You talk about the future of adding a filling station or gas station.
You know, somewhere down the road, and I can't guarantee that, but so I'm not like some big company. I'm still just kind of trying to grow. So I'm just struggling to get one. So hopefully in a couple, 3 years, we would add some pumps in, but
Do you have Buc-ee's in mind as you approach this?
so Bucky should worry about me. Like people say that, you know, you can either get the beaver or you can go have fun in your anus. So that's all I want to say.
Well, the idea of bringing people off the highway to Richmond, Indiana is a good thing, so that's good.
Just kind of as a thing, in Missouri, of course, very rural area, 250,000 people within 50 miles. Here it's 2.3 million. We had over 500,000 visitors come to our store last year, and they're pulling off the interstate, right? And that's what we want as a community, is to bring that money in. That's
Yeah. I go to the Case Knife or not Smoky Mountain, that's the other one, Shepherd Hills.
Shepherd Hills, yeah, in Lebanon, where I live, right?
I've been there several times.
Yeah.
So,
We also sell case knives.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, at the same price?
maybe. I don't know. For you, lower.
You heard that, gentlemen. Anyway, is this a 24/7 operation?
So no, maybe later on in 2 or 3 years it would be if we got fuel, but we run from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, so 13 hours a day.
Okay, those are my questions.
Okay, other questions?
I have a question. How do you get to your establishment? You pull off, would you go up to the stoplight, or is there a turnoff?
So there is a turnoff as you pull. There's one beforehand, and then you go to the stoplight. Ohio Department of Transportation required us to get a traffic study, and we do have that done, and it's complete and it has been turned in to them, and I could provide that for you if you'd like to.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's see, ordinance 41, 2024 is on public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, public discussion is closed, and we'll go to the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance 41 is the petition of Uranus 3 Land LLC owner, Katrina Ann is the agent, located at 6400 National Road East in Richmond, requesting a zoning map amendment to rezone a parcel from institutional to general commercial. Current use is other. This is the former New Creations Church and Boarding School. Zoning is institutional, and the tract size is approximately 21.81 acres. Adjacent zoning to the north is institutional. To the south is not applicable. It's the I-70 National Road East interchange. To the east is Preble County, Ohio zoning, highway services. And to the west is institutional. Adjacent land use to the north is other commercial structure. To the south is the I-70 National Road East interchange. To the east is vacant part, which is included in the current petition. And to the west is institutional. It's the IMPA Solar Park. If this is rezoned to general commercial, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but in your staff report, you have a number of permitted commercial uses. I won't read through all of these, but general commercial is typically flexible enough to handle most of the future uses that may be in mind for this project. On July 10th, 2024, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. On July 9th, 2024, 8 adjacent property owners were notified by mail. We didn't receive any responses for this one. And on July 12th, 2024, a sign was placed on the property notifying passersby of tonight's public hearing. Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No health and safety objections were raised. Staff recommends approval for amending the zoning map of 6400 National Road East from institutional to general commercial based on the following factors. Number one, Richmond Rising Community Action Plan compatibility. The subject property is located within the city of Richmond's 2-mile fringe, and like most land within the fringe, the comprehensive plan's future land use map identifies the area northeast of the I-70 off-ramp loop as part of its agricultural/rural residential place type. Neither the current nor proposed zoning district are consistent with the plan's future land use map. The map does identify the area to the immediate west of the interchange as part of its commercial corridor place type, which is, quote, primarily located along Richmond's high-traffic arterial roadways, which serve as primary entry and exit points to the city. Subject property and its proposed use is aligned with the plan's vision for this gateway into the city and stay as a place type designed to, quote, conveniently serve both local residents and regional visitors and allow for a great deal of flexibility with regards to intensity and scale of development, supporting both smaller local businesses and regional destinations and attractions. Number two, current conditions and character of the current structures and uses in each district. 6400 National Road East was, until 2016, the location of the New Creations Church and Boarding School. The property is highly visible on account of this should be 110-foot tall cross located on the south portion of the property, but it is otherwise somewhat isolated. It abuts the Indiana-Ohio state border to the east, the I-70 US 40 interchange to the south, and an IMPA solar park to the west. Moving farther west into Richmond is a variety of commercial uses, including hotels, restaurants, retail stores, storage facilities, gas stations, body shops, and car dealerships, as well as some residential properties just off of East National Road. Given the variety of commercial uses that are already present just off of I-70, the proposed general store, along with most potential future commercial expansion on the site, would not be out of place in this area. Number three, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. Given the large amount of nearby commercial uses, combined with the high visibility of the location for both local and non-local traffic, commercial development of this site is a suitable use of this property. Number four, conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. Considering the relative isolation of the property as noted in criterion number 2, the zoning change should have little impact on nearby property values. And number 5, responsible development and growth. Expanding the commercially developed corridor immediately adjacent to the highway interchange is an appropriate use of this property. There are no rent commitments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Purvis? I guess I have one question about the warehousing. Is that going to be under general commercial or not?
I believe if the future distribution on the site may end up having to get a variance of use. Without double checking, I don't believe that is a permitted commercial use.
Okay, so that would not be going through us, that'd be going through BZA, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Purvis. We're ready to have discussion. Is there any comments, questions about this for us? Hearing none, the chair will accept a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 41, 2024. Would you please call the roll?
Michael Devine,
Aye.
Joe Price,
Aye.
Greg Steens,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Tiana Washington,
Aye.
Bruce Whistle,
Aye. Ordinance 41, 2024 did pass with a recommendation to council with 7-0 votes. Ordinance 40, 2024, the petition of South 37th Street Properties LLC owner, 11th Street Development LLC agent, requesting underlying medium-density, single-family residential, R2, and urban residential, UR zoning designation for a planned development to allow the creation of a mixed residential neighborhood project in the medium-density, single-family residential R2 district on 5 parcels currently addressed 0 South 37th Street, Richmond, Indiana. These are parcel IDs 89-18-02-300-102.006-030 and 89 89-02-300-102.005-030 and 89-18-02-300, 102.007-030, and 89-18-02-300-102.001-030, and number 89-18-02-300-102.008.030 legal. Descriptions are Point Northwest Section 2-13-11.184 acres. At Point Southwest Section 2-13-1, 9.256 acres. Point Southwest Section 2, 13-1, 21.405 acres, and Point Southwest Section 2-13-2.560 acres, and Point Southwest Section 2-13-1, it's 5.006 acres. Point Southwest Section 2-13-1, which is 40.210 acres. Petitioner available, please.
Before we get started with that, if I might, Mr. President,
Okay.
my current residence is in the area adjacent to this development, and I received the city letter that talks about it. So the last time we reviewed this proposal, we brought it forth that by approval of the commission, I would continue to be a part of this discussion or recuse myself based on that vote. I'd like to propose that again and see what the commission feels about my involvement in this petition.
Okay.
Mr. President, I would move to approve his participation in this petition.
Second.
Okay, we would have a motion and a second for approval. Would you please take a vote on that, please?
Michael Devine,
Abstain?
Joe Price,
Aye.
Greg Steens,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Tiana Washington,
Aye.
Bruce Whistle.
Aye. So that 6 votes, which is the minimum requirement to recuse yourself on that.
Welcome back aboard.
Well, yeah. And we hope you like your old job again. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Brian Stump with 11th Street Development, 9511 Angola Court, Suite 233, Indianapolis, Indiana. And tonight we're here to discuss the revitalized, revamped Smith Hill neighborhood. This is a mixed residential neighborhood. The property that Mr. Whistle provided all the parcel numbers for and areas, those are outlined here in yellow. So we're on the east side of South 37th Street, just south of Bachmeyer Road and just west of Garwood. And before we get started tonight, kind of highlighting some of the changes. There are no apartments in this petition. There is no daycare. Those were in the previous version. Those were in the northwest parcel. Those have been removed. And we've also taken out over 100 homes from the original proposal in response to the feedback that we heard. So our new plan looks like a lot of the single-family homes still look very similar to what they were. The big change is that the townhomes are now take the place of where the apartments were in the northwest portion of the site. The entire project is market rate for sale housing, townhomes and all of the single-family homes. So they're all single-family homes. The townhomes just happen to be attached dwelling units. The rest are the single-family detached are 4 different collections of homes. We've got custom homes, as you recall, up in the northeast corner. And then the center of the site, we've got a mix of different lot sizes. That's really the reason for the PUD is the flexibility in the lot sizes. We get about 250 homes that were just straight R2, and that would be all, a lot of homes that are exactly the same. And given the demand for housing, the need for housing at all different price points, we want to make sure that we were hitting as much of the market as possible, and that's why we're proposing the 5 different housing collections that are here. Just as a quick refresher, we have our Brookside homes. These are on 60-foot wide lots. These would be the sort of starter homes, and both we find empty nesters in these homes as well. They're 1-story and 2-story family homes. Next are the Sunrise. This would be sort of a move-up product that a little bit more targeted more of the family homes. And then finally in that northeast corner, we've got custom homes that will be true custom, where they'll be individually designed and constructed. In the center of the site, we have the portion that I'll just, for ease, call them the cottages. They're both cottages or villas, is how that will work out as we move forward. They are single-family homes. The cottages are where the villas were kind of a shared driveway, and they're all unattached single-family homes. It's just the way that they are arranged. So here for the cottages, for example, they're arranged around a courtyard with parking to the side. On the next slide, you'll see the courtyard with the homes facing the courtyard and then the parking off to the side. So that would be the way that those cottages are, that's how they work. And then in the northwest corner is where we're proposing townhomes. These will all be for-sale units. We're looking at this slide and the next slide will show just some kind of architectural character of the townhomes. We're looking at 2- and 3-story units. What I've shown in the land plan, what we'll probably do the majority of are 4-unit buildings. That's where we've found the best. We don't, for scale and massing and marketability, we like to keep it around 4 units. Not to say there might not be a 3-unit building or possibly a 5-unit building, but 4 tends to be the one that's the most common. And so this is some of the character of what you may see with those townhomes. So go ahead and go to the next one. So in listening to some of the concerns as well, so in District A, this is the district map that addresses where the different uses, different types of residents are going to have. And District A is where the single-family detached homes, this is kind of our traditional homes, the Brookside and the Sunrise collections. The cottages are in District B, so we intentionally have kept those to the center of the site. They can't be moved to the perimeter of the site. They're by design and by this ordinance forced to be in that corner. And then the northwest corner, District C, is where the townhomes are located. Some of the concerns we've heard to this point as we've gone through the process, first are draining and flooding. We heard that last time. I'm sure we'll hear it again. But one of the things I want to identify is that in the design of this community, it has a complete stormwater system that is part of it. That system is designed to capture, hold, and slowly release the water. So it will actually improve the issues of flooding. Gordon Moore and Elijah Welch are here, can speak on the details of the requirements for the stormwater system. We need their approval before we can move forward with any of the detailed designs. And the bottom line is less water will leave the site during big storm events than what happens today. Retention ponds have also been a concern. We've heard some concerns about safety or how do they work. Again, your stormwater ordinance addresses the design of those. All of the ponds have a safety shelf around the perimeter in case someone should fall in. It's a shallow shelf and addresses that. There are also automobile barriers and other measures that are taking place that will be implemented to protect from any encroachment coming into the ponds. That is really done on a sort of a case-by-case basis on what works best. It comes in road geometry and other factors. So suffice to say that the ponds will be safe. Regarding private wells, we've heard a couple different things. One, some concerns of, will changing the use of this property affect my well that I'm on right now? That we're addressing the surface water with our stormwater system and things. The wells are pulling from the aquifers under the ground and will not be impacted by this development. The other concern we've heard regarding wells is, will we have to connect? Well, our infrastructure is, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Our infrastructure and the development of the site will begin from South 37th Street, and we'll start there on the west end of the project and move east. And the infrastructure will be relatively, essentially internal to the site. We're not doing any new mains or things like that along Garwood. So there will not be that requirement to, the concern to connect. And then finally, the last concern we heard was water pressure. In our communications with Indiana American Water, they do not note any water pressure concerns out there. To the extent that there are concerns, currently these are dead-end water mains out to Sandbridge and the other areas around. When we do the project, we will be building a water main down South 37th Street. That will create a looped system, which then feeds water, say for example to Sandbridge. Water will now come from two directions, not just one, and that helps equalize the pressure on the site. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the project.
Any questions for Mr. Stumpf?
I have one. The other large question that came up besides the stormwater issue, which I think you've addressed effectively, is traffic. Because it's going to create a great deal more traffic when all the houses have been developed and the people are living there along 37th, Bachmeyer, and forget what the other one is, Garwood. Those three roads are going to be very busy. Is there any changes in this proposal that affect how that traffic will flow or how to handle that extra traffic?
The biggest change is eliminating over 100 units on the site. So that right there, from a traffic generation standpoint, has dropped that number substantially. This site is already zoned R2. We're essentially coming in at an R2 number of homes. We're a little bit higher on the northwest corner where the townhomes are. But outside of that, there's not a significant deviation from this from a standard R2 subdivision.
If you did the calculation of complete R2, what would the difference be between what this proposal is and what that would look like?
Probably about, I want to say it's about 35 homes difference.
Okay.
So,
Not a large amount then.
no. And part of the other element of mixing, when we mix the different styles of homes, when we have empty nesters do not have the same traffic patterns or driving as a family home does with kids, and as I can attest myself, getting kids to band practice and other things that can generate more trips from a house.
That was my other question.
Questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So it looks like you have egress into South 37th Street, three of them, right? Into and out of how about Bachmeyer? Is there anything?
No, nothing on Bachmeyer.
So nothing goes directly onto Bachmeyer?
No.
And on the east side would be Garwood?
We got one on Garwood, yeah. And that's mainly for safety.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question, this might be
Okay.
silly, but you call these ponds, and then other ones are not labeled. Are they all detention ponds?
Yes, they're all
So
ponds.
they can all handle the water?
Yes.
I did read all the letters that were sent in from the neighbors on this, and one of the things that we saw quite a bit of feedback was on taxpayer funds to be used to help developer. And that came up at the council meeting, I think the last time. I don't see anything in here requesting any funds from the city.
No, that's a separate element or separate process. We have applied for ready grants
Okay. And the ready grants are?
to help assist with the cost of the infrastructure for the neighborhood. That's state money.
That's state money.
Yeah,
That's
there is a
not-
match
that's not
component to
local.
that, but the details of that have not been worked out. The discussion so far has really been focused on a TIF, so the project pays for itself.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Did you have sanitation that was coming up here as part of your presentation?
No, it's just they're available if you have any questions.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay. We will go ahead and open ordinance 40, 2024 for public hearing. We did have a sign-up list for those who wanted to speak tonight. Was there anyone that didn't get the opportunity to sign up for the list? Okay, Mr. Parker. And, I'm sorry? Mark Johnson, okay. Okay, we have put a 3-minute limitation on everything. We ask that you not repeat statements that have already been made. We are up here to gather information, and we will just take this in the order that you signed in. So there will be a mixture of those in favor and those opposed as they come up to us. And it is a 3-minute limitation. Our Assistant City Attorney is acting as timekeeper. And since she's an attorney, she can do all kinds of legal things to you if you go beyond that. So the first name on the list is Charlie Osterman. And would you all give your address as you come up too?
My name is Charlie Osterman. I live at 310 Garwood Road. Okay, first of all, I want to say that last time I was here, I suggested keeping it all R2. And it looks like you guys are. I guess what's up there right now, they don't want to keep it all R2. And one thing I'm looking at, if you go to Sandbridge, this year, there has been no construction. I think it's right here because this project right here is the main reason they don't want to build right now. They want to find out what's going on. So this here is not a plus for actually building like an R2 right next to it. It's kind of a negative. And as for building, what you can do is actually, where are they building? You go down here at Honeysuckle. Right now they're building 3 houses, and lately they built maybe a couple more that's already been built. And it's kind of, they're constructing down there. So it's kind of like, what's the demand for housing right now? Look, a bit of it is the higher priced homes. So it's kind of like, why not take the area right there instead of taking it from R2? Why not take it to R1? It's like what you're going to do is going to solve the traffic problems and the water problems, and the people at Sandbridge will probably be happy too. So it's like, why not? That's all I need to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have, Gary.
I want to withdraw my request based on some information that I just found out. I need to study it more before I can voice an opinion.
Okay, thank you. Don Otto.
At 1120 Danbury Lane. We meet again so soon from last time. Not knowing what the changes were going to be from the last one, it was very hard to prepare in such a short time frame. And now we just found out a few. But the changes seem to be minimal, not really addressing water drainage, sewer, traffic. There's a lot of things that haven't really been addressed. But cutting the apartments from 220 to 110, his 100 reduction, is more buildings than before. So it's still a very dense number for those specified acres. And I don't know if the townhouses have garages or not. He didn't show a picture. But if they don't, we're still going to have a parking lot atmosphere with dumpsters all over the place. If they do have garages, part of that problem may be solved. Nothing seems to have changed with the house portion. I don't see it even feasible to put 178 homes in this small area since the street width needs to be addressed, as mentioned by even council this spring. A good way for you to imagine 178 houses is to look at Hale Terrace, Geraldine Dorothy, Sandbridge, and Winfield. All combined is 178 homes. I may be off 1 or 2. But I think that's a pretty good visual. I also don't understand that the exact same lots that were type 3 and labeled R3 before have not changed in size, but now they're part of District A, or just, yeah, and are R2. Same lots, now they're R2, before they were designated R3. The frontage on so many of those, for the most part, will only accommodate a deep ranch, or more likely 2 stories with a 2-car garage. That's not the most sought-after plan in Richmond over the past several years. Building this many homes in the busiest square mile of Richmond suggests that the east side of town has become the center of town, instead of where the city building and courthouse are located. There has to be a better use of resources to enhance, expand, and revive other parts of Richmond and better serve the city and its residents. I am in opposition to using taxpayer funds for this PUD, but would still object to the PUD on the grounds it is too dense and does not address all the inherent problems that exist. The homes that currently back up to South 37th are semi-disguised with trees and fences. The optics of 26 townhouse buildings, and a vinyl village, all packed with cars, does not blend well with the surrounding subdivisions, as the current zoning of this land would. There are so many concerns, but another one I have is I want to mention is the possibility of businesses or individuals purchasing the townhouses and homes and then privately leasing them, such as happened in the Arbors and Roaming Hills. I thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Otto.
Thank you.
Okay. Ask you not to have any demonstrations so we can, I don't want anyone to feel that any type of infringement or any partisan. We want everyone's opinion, honest opinion. Brad Dwinger.
Good evening. I'm Brad Dwinger, Wayne County Commissioner. My address is 3508 Waterford Street, so I'm kind of a neighbor to this subdivision. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of all three of the commissioners. We took a vote today, and we unanimously support this subdivision. We feel that this goes into the overall comprehensive plan that we have for the county-wide for our economic development and housing shortage that we have. I'll be real brief. I think a lot of people know what my day job is, but I'm not here representing as a certified real estate appraiser, but that's what I do for a living. I'm here as an expert in real estate. And I'd like to give you guys some statistic numbers because I've heard some things about housing. So this is all data that was pulled from the local MLS system. Since January of 23 to current 7/23 of 24, we've had 1,340 homes listed in Wayne County. These are all single-family residents, no multifamily or commercial properties. Out of those 1,340, we've had 1,102 sales. That's 82.24%. It's a pretty high percentage. The average sales price of those is $167,434. The list to sales price percentage is 96.59%, with an average days on the market of 63 days. Currently, we have less than 1.5 months of housing supply. To be exact, it's 1.36%. We have currently 97 listings on the market right now for all of Wayne County. Average list price is $266,604 with an average days on the market of 50 days. So based on those numbers, you can see that we definitely have a housing shortage and a need for this. If we're going to continue to grow in Wayne County, which I think we have the potential to be greater than we are now, we have to have all different price range of homes. And this subdivision that they're proposing has move-in homes, they have move-down homes. And in order to keep having that cycle of people moving up, moving down, you've got to have the homes available. And currently, we do not have those properties available. People just aren't moving for a number of reasons. One, housing supply. Two, interest rates. If you have a 3% rate, you're going to sell your house and get a 6% rate. So that's affecting the market. So I'm not going to say it's all a shortage of housing. I've heard the concerns of the people that have they do have valid points on some of the traffic issues, but I think that's going to be handled later on with traffic studies and stuff. So also, the property is located within the city of Richmond, which is an urban development. The highest and best use of a property is not agricultural use, it's single-family residence. So if you have any questions for me, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Dwinger? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Melissa Vance.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Vance. I live at 931 Winding Ridge Drive, and I'm the president and CEO of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. 2 years ago, the Chamber's Board of Directors finalized a strategic plan that included helping to grow the number of housing options in Wayne County to attract and retain talent for our member businesses. Thus, we hosted recently the State of Housing event to bring experts in to talk about best practices from growing communities that are seeing thriving developments happen. Over the past decade, Wayne County has grown vibrant industry leaders and added jobs in manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare, just to name a few. Wages have significantly increased due to inflation and demand. Yet only 57% of our workforce lives in Wayne County. That means 43% of our workers come here for a paycheck and take it somewhere else. 28% of these workers don't even live in an adjacent county, meaning they're even less likely to spend their earned income at our local businesses. They're not paying property taxes, they're not sending their children to our schools, and they're certainly not buying local here. Those who can afford homes like this, desire this type of housing, go to communities where it's available. The ripple effect is that our schools continue to suffer from fewer students and fewer dollars. The quality of life that we want for our residents is less available because there are fewer people supporting the small businesses that create that quality of life. The lack of attainable housing results in fewer employers willing to locate or grow in Wayne County and fewer graduates finding jobs and the lifestyle they desire here in Richmond. Thank you for all the work that you do. It's extremely important. And thank you for your thoughtful consideration as you once again consider whether or not to move this forward with your approval. Forward thinking and smart planning are the only ways to keep Wayne County strong, both now and in the future. Thank you.
Any questions for Mrs. Vance? Please. Yeah. If you'll remember, we requested that you not make any outward expressions of feeling about our meetings here. Mr. Frame.
Hello, I'm Mike Frame with Trademark Construction, 189 Fort Wayne Avenue. So we, as you guys know, build a lot of homes around here. We're pretty excited about the opportunity to have some additional lots in the city. We do want to see it done right, and we've had a lot of discussion with Brian and with Dustin and various people about what that means. And pretty much what it means is we go through the processes set forth with the city, and one of the processes is talking about zoning. So what you guys are here for today is to talk about the zoning, and does the zoning line up with that area of town? And I think that's something that was a little bit overlooked at the last council meeting, and I was a little bit disappointed it was, but we're back at the table, and we want to try to, the powers that be want to try to make some concessions to get everybody excited about this. One of the things I heard about was housing demand and Sandbridge. That there's 3 available lots in Sandbridge currently that can be built on. There is a section being built, but they've hit a roadblock with the water line. They're trying to work that out. We plan on starting a house in Sandbridge immediately. I've been talking to Dustin about that. The taxpayer funds issue. The READY grant was designed to help for residential infrastructure throughout the state. And the city of Richmond needs to take full advantage of that. The people that come here and want to do a development, they need to take advantage of that. TIF funds do not exist without this project. This project creates the TIF funding. There's no pool of money sitting around waiting to be spent. And I know a lot of people understand that, a lot of people don't. But whenever I hear people talk about public funding and what it means and what it's for, I think that's been confused. So we're excited to continue to build in Richmond. We're building all over the region, and we're excited about it. Brian's talking to me about some of the townhomes because we're doing a project like that in Muncie right now. And one of the slides you saw was what we're doing there. Thank you for your time.
Questions for Mr. Free? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Valerie Schaefer. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Eva Bailey. It was nothing personal.
Hi, I'm Eva Bailey. I live at 316 Thornwood Court. And I had a couple of questions, and I only get 3 minutes, so I'm going to have to be really fast. And I'm new at this, so you may have explained this before. But nobody has specifically specified what urban residential means. Does that mean that later on they can put shopping centers, businesses in there? Urban means businesses.
Okay.
Okay, so nobody, and I tried looking it up and I could not find it. So that was one of my questions. And people have talked about the drainage, and I took pictures. This is the detention pond that the city owns that is beside my house. Now, after they went down and dug out on 37th Street, to, I think, probably quiet the neighbors so that they wouldn't complain about the backup and stuff, this is the picture. This is what's left there now. Now, I have contacted many people about this, and so my concern about this is that this is backing up my pond. What are you going to do with these other ponds? Who checks on this stuff? Because I have contacted about everybody in the city of Richmond about coming out. There's actually a cement drain underneath this. It can pose a health hazard because my house is now covered with mosquitoes, which carries a lot of diseases. So is this a health problem? Does the health department need to get involved and see what are these ponds going to do out there? Are they going to be properly drained so that we don't have this? And who follows up on this after this goes through various sellers? Is this bound to the land? Because on my particular cul-de-sac, I was told that when the last house went in, under the zoning, the sidewalks had to be finished. The house across me was an empty lot at the time I moved in 42 years ago. The house was built. It was built by a Richmond builder. He owned it, he lived in it, and he never put sidewalks in. So who will follow this stuff as it goes down the thing? And when you talk about financing this, all these grants require grant writers. There's no guarantee that the city of Richmond will get any of this money out there to do this. So I also believe that this is much too dense an area, and I have asked everybody that I've written to, please come out and drive by it. Stop. Look at my pond. Stop. Look at this area. This is very dense. Thank you.
Thank you. I do think she brought up some good points. We didn't do a good job of explaining what urban residential is. We have her address. Would someone in your department get with her and send her the list of things that qualify under urban residential? And also, I think sanitation would sanitation be responsible for the retention pond that's owned by the city?
If it's owned by the city, yes.
Okay, and so if you would share the information with sanitation so they could do a follow-up with her too, I would appreciate it. Okay. Valerie Schaefer.
Good evening, Valerie Schaefer. I reside at 39 Circle Drive in Richmond. I'm also the president of the Economic Development Corporation of Wayne County, and I'm here today to express my support for the planned unit development. Similar to what Melissa at the Chamber spoke about, the EDC too went through a strategic planning process that identified talent attraction and retention as a primary area of focus for our community. That planning process included input from residents, elected officials, and business leaders. As part of improving quality of life, housing is incredibly important to talent attraction, and I won't list all the reasons that Melissa already mentioned, but I just wanted to echo that that too is important to the future economic development for Wayne County. I do want to share the results of a recent housing study for Wayne County that demonstrated that we have a market demand for 450 new housing units per year over the next 5 years for a total of 2,250 new housing units in demand. Due to lack of housing development in recent years, we're now experiencing pent-up demand, which is leading to such a high volume of housing units that are needed in this community. But more importantly, we need diverse housing options. And I say that because this planned development does provide 5 different types of housing options for new and prospective residents alike. And that is important, and that was expressed in our housing study as well. And I just want to point out that the developer, when he looked at the type of housing that Richmond needs, he really looked at our housing study and took that into consideration as he planned this development. Diverse housing is important because every family is different and many people are in different stages of their life. So having variety of housing allows us to offer different things to different people to appeal to different types of families. I also want to share that the area in and around the proposed location is prime for residential development. As you've seen, it complements surrounding land use for single-family housing. It's also in close proximity to a lot of our amenities in our community, such as retail and restaurants that make it a very attractive place for someone to live. I also want to express that this development and new housing will really aid in our ability to really advance our community and build upon the economic development successes that we've seen over the last couple of years. That includes over $465 million of investment currently occurring right now by 6 Wayne County employers that collectively will employ 265 people. That complements the 2,600 jobs that are currently available in this community. If we want to continue to attract talent and people to work at the businesses that we're working so hard to recruit and grow, we have to have housing options for them. So I sincerely hope that you will support this request before you this evening. But I did want to just briefly say that in response to the public funding, that opportunity doesn't exist if this zoning isn't approved. Okay. Thank you.
Misty Faust-Cofield?
Good evening. My name is Misty Faust-Cofield. I reside at 2707 Westminster Avenue, so not far from this proposed project. As I said, I'm Misty. I live in Richmond, just a few blocks away. I have the pleasure of serving as a Vice President and Chief Nursing Officer at Reed Health. So I'm here to provide background and information on Reed's involvement in this very important community project. I will share information about Reed's role in this project and our why for being involved. In 2021, Reed Health acquired the South 37th property. Reed purchased the land through South 37th Street Properties, which is an LLC managed by Reed Health. Reed did not acquire this property to make money. We don't want to lose money on the property, but our role is essentially not to serve as a developer nor as an investor. Instead, Reed's interest in this property is to serve as a conduit or a catalyst to help meet a growing need in our community for market rate housing. To accomplish this, since 2021, we've been working alongside the city and the Economic Development Corporation to identify a developer willing to make an investment in our community and to launch this project. We're very pleased that 11th Street Development has agreed to be that developer and help our community meet the need for much needed market rate housing. We are incredibly grateful that Brian has remained extremely dedicated to this project and to our community. The why. A recent housing study compiled by Tracy Cross and Associates cited that approximately 12,000 people commute to Wayne County to work each day. 12,000 people. If just a portion of these individuals moved to Wayne County, we would see a much stronger tax base, increased retail, higher local school enrollments, improved population health, increased participation for our nonprofits, and overall growth in our region that promotes future investment in our county. This is why the Ready 2.0 process identified housing as the region's top barrier, our top barrier in the entire region. To reinforce the numbers cited in this cross-study, Reed Health employs approximately 3,200 team members, and we see similar dynamics in our workforce. Of our 3,200 team members, 1,400 employees live outside of Wayne County. 571 of those employees commute from Ohio. This is most certainly a retention problem for Reed. Not living in Wayne County creates a scenario where these employees may live equal distance from other health systems and can be easily persuaded to go work for those systems. As the chief nursing officer, I encountered this situation and the struggles that correlate with this nearly every day. For Reed and so many employers in this room, one of our best retention strategies is live here, work here. In addition to our effort to retain talent, we must recruit talent. Had more to say, but I thank you so much for your time and your interest in
Do you
this.
have any questions for Mrs. Faust-Cofield? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jason Trotwine.
Good evening. I'm Jason Troutwine. I live at 3315 Dorothy Lane, so you can see my house on that picture right there. I'm employed by Reed Health, but tonight I speak as a community member, again, who just lives a few blocks away. I shared my support of this project the last time that we met, 6 months ago today, I believe, actually, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that again tonight. I'd like to thank Brian as well from 11th Street Development for his dedication to this project. His willingness to listen to the concerns that went through for the first time and return to the drawing table and deliver a great plan that I really think is a win-win for our community. It's answered some of those questions, but it helps to solve our housing shortage as well. In January, you may remember that I'm a lifelong Wayne County resident and that I run this area a lot as well. So I'm an active runner. I run on South 37th all the time. I'll share with you that South 37th is 40 miles per hour, and people do drive pretty quickly down there. And I actually welcome this development because I think it's going to help to solve some of that issue as far as with increased stop signs, maybe reduced miles per hour on South 37th. So as a runner, I actually welcome this development. Some of you may know that I worked in education for about a decade. In education, we talk a lot about the importance of providing students with an opportunity to reach their fullest potential so that upon graduation, they have the tools to accomplish their goals, change trajectory of their lives. Tonight, I'm asking you to do that same thing with this property, to make a decision to allow this property to reach its fullest potential. A property positioned adjacent to residential housing and less than a mile from major retail, it has the potential to relieve our housing pressures, to grow enrollment in Richmond community schools, leverage state funding through the Ready 2.0 program, increase the support of our nonprofits, strengthen a pipeline for our business community, increase our property values, strengthen our retail environment. This project will help our community reach its fullest potential, to help us change our city's trajectory, and to help us become the community that we all complain that we're not. The community that we say that we used to be and that we're not today. I appreciate the Commission's positive vote in January, or whenever it was, March, and I'm hopeful that it'll be granted again this evening. So thank you for your service to our community, and thank you for your time tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Trotwine? Thank you, sir. Yes. Ken Past? While you're making your way up here, I'll remind you there's a 3-minute limitation.
No reputation.
I knew Gordon Morris suggested that. He said, "Ken, how are you going to say hello in 3 minutes?" and I do agree. And what I will do, I'll cut out a lot of the remarks I had because it's already been said to you before. And what I'll do is cut to one area that I think is kind of interesting. You have before you twice now a really tremendous opportunity. And I want to go back. I live in the Hill Terrace area. I've lived there for 49 years, so I've been able to watch that area grow. When I grew in or moved into Hill Terrace, all the lots were not completed, and had houses built on them at that time. Over the years, that lot did fill up, and I had the opportunity of living in the Helt area to watch the growth of that southeast Richmond area. Also, as a city council member, I was able to help develop and look forward to the future of what was going to happen to the southeast section. I watched South L Street as we worked on that project, and we made that as a major thoroughfare road that went all the way from down on 8th Street all the way out to 37th Street. And we did that on purpose, planning for the development. And what happened? Along came Forest Park. We had Forest Park that came. And in my area, when I first started, I had Hell Terrace. Then we had Woodgate. And then we had Hunters Point that come. Then you had Winfield. Then you had the Arbor Trace that came into that area. And a lot of you might be surprised. Back in those days, we looked at the area where Arbor Trace is, and we talked about the possibility of connecting 37th Street with Knee Warner Road. So people coming from the south could directly come on to 37th Street. And that's one of the reasons we built 37th Street as wide as we did. At that time, that was all farmland. You didn't have Arbor Trace in that particular area. And so all of those things we're planning, very frankly, to give you folks the opportunity that you have before you here this evening. And I real quickly want to take a timeline to show you what it takes. After the last vote that council made, I told one of the council members, I'm so sorry that you turned this down because you probably put the city of Richmond 10 to 15 years behind. Oh, he said, oh, that couldn't happen. That's why I want to give you a quick timeline. And back in 2015, on the county side, we were accepted into the SET program, and that was the Stronger Economies Together. In 2016, the SET plan we had was finalized, and we became a full organization. And at the time, Mike Pence was president at that time, or governor, excuse me, the state of Indiana. And so we worked on the program and put that together. So I put this little timeline real quick. I'd just like to quickly run through this to show you what happened. So we started off in 2016 with our plan, which definitely showed everything they've said today about the housing proposal. We had 27 and 18. Well, we started interviewing people and talking to them to see what we need. It was obvious at that time we didn't have the information. We didn't have the data that we need. And so we decided that one of the main things we needed was a TIF plan for residential. So the county provided the leadership. We went to the state, and a program that we thought would take 2 to 3 years, we accomplished in 1 year. So basically, I'll just end up by saying to you, you have an excellent opportunity here a second time around to vote yes on this project so that Richmond can thrive for generations to come. Thank you. And you're right, I can't do it in 3 minutes.
Brian Ballinger.
Good evening. My name's Brian Ballinger, 645 Indiana Avenue. I'm going to keep my comments rather brief. I consider myself an optimist. I really don't have a whole lot of tolerance for pessimism. But as an optimist, I also feel like I need to be a realist. And a realist, what do we do as realists? We have to look at what's reality. So I want to remind you, I consider myself an optimist, but the reality of our situation in Richmond, not in all ways, but in some ways, we're in decline. I think as a realist, we have to understand, so what's the reason for that? And this is opinion. My opinion is that depopulation of Richmond is the cause for many of the problems that we're facing today in decline. I want to share an excerpt of an article with you. It's written by Dr. Michael Hicks. He's an economics professor at Ball State University, by many considered an expert on the economic decline in the Rust Belt communities throughout the Midwest. On June 25th, 2023, again, this is an excerpt, and I quote, "It is important to know that business attraction won't really play any part of economic resurgence in the Midwest." Think about that statement. "There's nothing inherently wrong about business attraction efforts, but no matter how successful a community is at luring new factories and warehouses, unless you can attract their highly paid workers to your town, it will have no lasting effect. If your business attraction efforts make your community less desirable for people, it will actually weaken your local economy. It is a costly business. It is a costly business with inherent risk. So my question tonight is, how do we address the depopulation? To me, it's very clear. We have this plan that is set before us. It's in your hands. If it's approved, obviously it goes to council. But it gives us the option to address the housing shortage across many economic spectrums. So I would encourage you to consider the plan that's before us. I consider it, honestly, I feel like it's a privilege that we have someone coming into our community willing to make this kind of investment. And when there's investment, obviously he's taking large risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Mark, I'm sorry I can't make out the last name.
Mark Broker, 5989 Cart Road. Today I speak with other young professionals in mind as I'm here, some that I've spoken to since last time this was brought forth. But most importantly, I honestly am here for my daughter. She'll be 2 years old in September. 2 years old. So think about when you were 2 years old. What am I going to tell her when it's the year 2030? That's the end of the decade. What am I going to tell her? This is a question I think about almost daily when I drive through town and think about what's going on in the world. It's like I cannot tell her that I sat on the sidelines and did nothing. I have to tell her how this housing right here played a part and changed Richmond. There's so many more chapters, but it truly is that simple. The data shows we need housing and need housing now to merely meet demand. Meet it, not exceed it, just meet it. The data shows people will buy houses when they are built. There's an argument. These are too expensive. The data shows people will buy. The data shows people want to leave larger cities to come to places like Richmond. The data shows the workforce is changing and continues to change with AI, work from home, and so many other factors. And working in HR, I see this every day. I had an interview last week, and the lady said, I would love to come there, but I can't find a place to live. So she ended up buying an older house and is now going to fix it up. The data shows when people live in the community they work, more tax money stays home, nonprofits thrive instead of decline, and community togetherness increases. Over the past few months, people have asked me repeatedly since I spoke last, why in the world would someone move to Richmond and Wayne County? I've been asked this repeatedly from people, not newcomers, people that have lived here long term. And that bothers me. But my question is, why not live here? Do we not believe in our community, our people, and want to see long-term generational growth outside of what we want? What about what our kids want? Do we want a town to grow, for new business to thrive? Are we willing to see progress instead of stagnation? Can we move past an old Richmond? I hate to say this, but some things from old Richmond, like the promenade, aren't coming back, but new and innovative ways we're working on and trying to bring forth right now and in the coming years and the decades to come. Sure, this plan before you has imperfections, but progress never looks perfect. Progress is always murky. It's contentious. I urge you to approve this plan because I believe in this community, in this town, and everybody that's in it.
Thank you, Mr. Broker. Do we have any questions for you? Thank you. Shelley Culbertson.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Culbertson. I live at 406 Henley Road. Obviously, what I had written down, I can't really speak about. So a lot of people have already taken that information. But as I said previously, I was in HR for 29 years, and I helped with relocation. I never had an issue with folks finding homes. A lot of the people that are hired in this city are not upper level salary range, and so they can't really afford some of the prices of the places here, including even the townhouses, which I don't recall hearing a price that those are going to go for, so I'd be interested in hearing that. But I'm sure that's going to be above what people that work in manufacturing will actually be able to afford. I think that what I've heard, and I've spoke recently to people, they choose to live outside of our community because not housing, but the blight in our city, the stuff that needs to be repaired or tore down, they choose to not come here because the rating of our schools, have you looked at Richmond Community Schools ratings, how it's went down? It's not good. And that's part of it too. The property values you talked about, some people, folks talked about them going up. I disagree with you. I live in Henley Road, right at Bachmeyer. Had police officer from our last meeting approach me. They've tagged people going down Henley Road. And how fast do you expect that they were going down Henley Road already without this development? 57 miles per hour. So what are you going to do if you approve this, which I doubt that you don't approve it. I think you'll push it through. What are you going to do if homeowners like us, who built our home in Richmond and lived here all these years, just up and move? Then you're going to have an abundance of homes. We need to clean up our city. We need to bring in more jobs in manufacturing. And we need to slow the traffic down, not increase our traffic a lot. Now, can't say exactly. Before we thought it would be 6 to 8 times the amount of traffic in the area. Now that the homes are now, or the apartments are now townhouses, which in my mind are still like an apartment, just less, you're gonna still have issues. So I was going down 40 the other day, and there's also someone going 50 some miles per hour because there's a sign there and it was popping up warning. Come sit in my driveway. Listen to your folks. Don't always go to the elite in our city. Listen to your folks. Thank you.
Any questions for Mrs. Culberson? Thank you. Nicholas Venus.
My name is Nicholas Venus, legal name. My address is 501 South 19th Street. But I own a property at 512 Garwood Road. In fact, if you look at the diagram on the right side of Garwood Road and you see a little half circle driveway, that's our house. We own 1 3/4 acres. The north end of that property it has an easement on it, and that's where the road, access road from Garwood to the development would be. Am I opposed to the development? No. But here's what I want to remind the council. This development is coming up after the development that was already approved south on Garwood for 350 homes. So you take 350 homes times 2 cars, that's 700 cars. Then you take this, and it comes out on Garwood, and what? Let's just guess, 700 more cars a day? So all I'm saying is the traffic is very important in this decision. And Garwood Road is not meant for that kind of traffic. You'll need pull-offs. There's no room to put them somewhere because there's runoffs and big pipes. I've lived at Garwood almost all my life until I got married, which was just a few years ago. I guess the one thing I am concerned about is the coming off of Garwood is where all the emergency vehicles will come because the ambulance, the fire trucks are down below. Across 40, you go down the hill, and they're right there. So I know because I've had to use them for my parents the night my dad died. Number 2, how can you make decisions on traffic studies or traffic when you haven't done any studies? How can you make a decision if you don't have any information? I don't understand that. Someone said, well, we can do the traffic studies later. Why? Why wouldn't you do a traffic study now to see what it is now, and then figure out how many more cars would be on that road? And how wide does the road have to be? And how many turnoffs do you have to have? To me, that should be part of the study. And who's going to pay for that? The city. So I think that, you know, we had last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a speed limit sign on Garwood. As you drove by, it would tell you what your speed was. And at one time, I thought, well, perhaps that's accounting. It's counting cars. No, it was just speed limit. Because, just like the lady before me, you come down Garwood, once they go past Bachmeyer, they're going 70 miles an hour. They hit that hill. So all I want to say is, one more real quick thing. I've been in retail for 25 years. I've been in wholesale for 25 years. People that buy these types of homes don't shop Richmond.
Any questions for Mrs. Venus? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Gavin Lacey?
Hi. I'm just going to step right
Need
out.
your address, please.
111 Southwest F Street.
Okay.
I'm just going to step right out and say that I feel this plan is akin to gentrification, and it's just that the difference is you're not taking historic homes and redeveloping them. And as many other people that have come here and spoke have said, people in Richmond, in our community, probably can't afford this housing. And they like, I don't, this is for people, this is for bringing people out of the city, into the city. We have the highest illiteracy rate in our schools than we've ever had. And if I'm not mistaken, we also have the highest unemployment rate we've ever had. A lot of people in the city are impoverished and disenfranchised. The majority of our historical homes are inhabited by impoverished people. I don't feel that this development plan is to help our city, because helping our city starts with people that are actually in our community, and instead of trying to bring in people that can afford this expensive housing from outside of our city, while we are in the greatest state of decline we've ever been in. You guys are going to make your decision either way, so that's really all I wanted to say. Something to think about, because I don't really think this is helping anyone. It's just to keep the flow of commerce going. Thank you.
I do have a question for you. Where'd you get your information? We have the highest illiteracy we've ever had and the highest unemployment currently.
I don't know. I just asked a teacher who I was sitting back there if our literacy rate is the highest it's ever been, and he said, yeah, I believe so. So, I don't know.
I think you might want to check those statistics.
Think so? Well, statistics don't matter anyway. I'm pretty sure.
You were using them, not me.
Well, I still stand on what I said. I don't really think this helps anyone, besides the guys that are going to build it, construction. I mean, who's going to buy these homes in our city? Like the majority of these people that need housing in our city, I believe are impoverished. So I don't see how putting this large housing development plan on the east side, which also does treat the east side as though it's our cultural epicenter, when it's not. It's always been downtown. I feel like it's not really helping anyone.
You do realize the city itself is not in the construction business. We can't choose if no one goes after historic homes to develop.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Oler.
I get 27 minutes, right? No. I'm Ron Oler, Mayor, 50 North 5th Street. I know there are concerns by the public who live in the area, mostly regarding drainage and increased traffic. I want to ensure the public that the rezoning request being considered tonight is just the first of 3 steps in the city's review process, and there's much more due diligence that will come later. If the zoning is approved tonight and then by council later, the next step will be the detailed development plan. During this step, a detailed drainage plan and a traffic study, impact study will be required, along with other additional details pertaining to the development. Then the plan commissioners and staff will work with all city departments, including the fire department, police department, sanitary district, law department, as well as all the relevant utility providers to assess the project's ability to sustain the project's utility load, stormwater runoff, vehicular traffic, and so on. Planning staff will make a recommendation, and the Plan Commission will hold another public hearing before voting on the detailed development plan. The third and final step is the final development plan review process by all applicable departments and agencies. As you can see, there's a lot more planning and review that will occur prior to the development being approved. I want to assure the public that the planning department and all departments will work diligently to ensure that this development does not negatively impact the neighborhoods around it. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, any questions for the mayor? Okay, Mr. Parker.
Good evening, Mr. President and board members. My name is Larry Parker. I reside at 3801 Sandbridge Drive. I'm also the councilman for the 4th District, which is where this planned unit is proposed to be located. I represent myself tonight along with other members of this district. And we all know that someday this land will be developed, and we're not opposed, but we're concerned about the particular development for the following reasons. You've heard them, the water issues. I'd like to pass this out. This was taken just not too long ago on our big rain. Every spring, the northwest corner of this 11 acres designated for the townhouses becomes a pond for several months, and you all know that. You've seen it. We have ducks down there that take up residence for at least a week or 6 weeks or so, and to develop this with hardscape is only going to add to this problem. Presently, there is a water problem north of Bachmar that's trying to be resolved by the sanitary department. The ditch on 37th Street, which you have the pictures of, is now at full capacity during these heavy rains. Adding more water to the density of this project is unacceptable because there's going to be no place for that water to go. I realize that they say that's going to have all these different ponds. They're also unfenced ponds. And the average home price was brought up a while ago, saying the average sale price here in Richmond was $167,000. None of these homes are anywhere near this price. And as a matter of fact, if I'm correct, the lowest cost home in this project is $250,000. Is that correct? A little over 250, plus HOA fees. The density of this project is too great for 80 acres. 288 total houses, streets, 9 unfenced ponds, plans for 750 plus people, 400 or 500 cars. One of these entrance and exits will be on Garwood. And it's scheduled to have more traffic on Garwood as soon as the retirement facility is built further south. There's no way in the world that Garwood can handle this type of traffic. And for this reasons and many others that you've heard this evening, I urge you to vote no on this project.
Any questions for Mr. Parker?
Thank you for your time.
Mark Johnson?
Johnson, 3612 Waterford Street. My biggest opposition to this is the traffic. I'm one of those houses that's hidden by the trees right there at the stop sign. And there is a speed problem on the other roads, as the ladies had mentioned. But at the stop sign, there's traffic at all hours of the night. Motorcycles, cars, trucks. loud music bumping, people sitting there on their cell phone, because I can tell because they don't move for a while and it rattles the windows in my house. So we're going to put more traffic there, more people at the stop sign with this, and add more stop signs up through there. Maybe it's going to make that traffic even slower. I also have a problem with the density. If it was just another development like Sandbridge and it was these large homes that are kind of spread out and filled that field, probably not a big of a deal, but it's a density thing. These townhomes, you start building up, that's because it's too dense already. You don't have enough room to spread out, so you build up. The proposed before apartments, but been taken out, but now they're townhomes. Still, that's a lot more people built up in that area, more cars, more traffic, more usage, dumpsters, trash, things like that. I just think it's too dense of an idea for that area. And then diversity, the diversity needs to be spread around the city, other places. This is a Reed type thing. They're part of it. What about all the property out around the water tower that they already own, the Highland Heights Old School and stuff like that? Put apartments, developments, townhomes, stuff out there, closer to Reed, closer to the job, factory jobs out at Midwest Industrial Park, Industries Road. Lots of open land out there. Why not look for a farmer that wants to sell his land out there and build closer to those jobs where somebody's coming in wanting to? And if somebody's building a $400,000 custom home in this area, do they really want a $250,000 home in their baseball throw distance from their home? I don't think so, because they're all going to be packed on top of each other. If I was building a $400,000 home, I want some space between me. As far as people, workforce living out of Richmond, people don't live in Richmond that work here because they don't like the density. They don't like the big city, the extra traffic, the extra people, the homes close together. That's why they live out. They come where they can make the money, and they go out because they don't want to be packed in. So why would they want to move into this packed in neighborhood with high dollar homes? And like I said, you can see what your neighbor's doing right beside you. I just don't think it's agreeable. It wouldn't have a mixture of homes in there and adding to the density and the traffic problems that have already developed just because we're close to the area. The fire trucks, they don't always come from Arboretum. Arbor Trace has fire trucks and ambulances coming nonstop. Many of the times they come from the fire department at 8th and L and up through there, screaming, roaring, all hours of the night. Arbor Trace is its own deal. Yeah, they may have emergencies, but if there's a problem at that addition and the Arboretum firehouse can't make it, 5th Street or the 8th Street up Hodgen, up 37th, middle of the night, right by my bedroom, coming through all the time. So too dense of a project for that area.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thanks.
Are there any questions for him? Thank you. That was the last name on the list. I did notice some people come in late. If there is anyone who has not spoken yet who would like to come up, you're free to at this time. Seeing none, we will close public hearing. Well, I will give the developer an opportunity to address any of the issues that came up, if you would like to.
Thank you. We've got several different items here. I'm just looking through my notes. Again, I'll defer to Mr. Moore and Mr. Welch regarding the specifics of the drainage. Again, the standards that the city and county have, less water will leave the site on storm events than currently leaves the undeveloped site. As the mayor pointed out, this is the first of 3 different stages of the process. The next stage, the detailed development plan, so the primary plat, is where we do the preliminary engineering of the site. That has the stormwater calculations, the traffic study, things of that nature, so we know exactly what improvements, the specific improvements that are necessary. As you know from South 37th Street, it was designed for traffic. This road is, and that's why we're fronting on it. That's why that is our main entrance and how we're bringing folks into the site. The housing is needed. The density of this is not significantly different than just if we did 80 acres of all the exact same lot that the R2 requires. The reason for the planned development is to have the flexibility in the lot sizes so that we can address different desires and different lifestyles. I failed to mention we're looking at the cottages and the courtyard villas as being maintenance-free living. Again, there's different segments of the community that we are trying to address and make sure that we're meeting the greatest need possible. my main points.
We got any questions? Okay, thank you. We will close public hearing at this point and go to the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance 40 is the petition of South 37th Street Properties LLC owner, 11th Street Development LLC is the agent, located on 5 parcels near South 37th Street, south of Bachmeyer Road, and west of Garwood. Requesting a district ordinance and establishment plan approval to rezone a parcel from medium-density single-family residential to a planned development with a combination of medium-density single-family residential and urban residential-based zoning designations. Current use is vacant agricultural and zoning is R2. The tract size is approximately 79.63 acres. Adjacent zoning to the north is medium-density single-family residential and intense multifamily residential. To the south, east, and west is medium-density single-family residential. Adjacent land use to the north is agricultural and single-family residential. To the south, single-family residential. To the east, single-family residential, and to the west, single-family residential and vacant residential support land for another parcel. Proposed plan development would allow for the subject properties to be used as a mixed residential development. The petitioner has proposed a combination of base zoning districts, R2 and UR, to correspond with 5 different housing types to guide the plan development district's permitted uses, development, and design standards. So this is a district ordinance and establishment plan. The district ordinance proposes 3 different sub-districts. Subdistrict A is single-family detached homes, and that would use an underlining zoning district of R2. Subdistrict B is cottages and courtyard villas with an underlining zoning district of urban residential. And Subdistrict C is townhomes with the urban residential underlying zoning district. So again, the proposed regulating ordinance allows the 3 subdistricts to be guided by the permitted uses, development, and design standards of the respective underlying zoning districts with the following modifications. The design standards. Article 7.11B3 states that residential corner lots smaller than 20,000 square feet shall be 25% larger than the minimum lot area indicated for the base zoning district. This shall not apply. And then included in your packet is a development standards matrix. I had it up on the screen a second ago, but it seems to have crashed. But there's a chart that shows the dimensions of the 5 different housing types, which does include some variation from the development standards of their respective subdistricts. And then in addition to those lot dimensions, Article 2.14 states that the maximum structure height for urban residential district may not exceed 2.5 stories. This will not apply to Subdistrict C, which will permit structures not to exceed 3 stories. Article 5.21A1B requires 100 feet of separation between driveway and an intersection along a local street, and this shall not apply. Article 5.27A1 establishes a maximum 4-foot height for front and side yard fences. This will be modified to allow a 6-foot side yard or street side yard fence. And then in Subdistrict B, which is the cottages and courtyard villas, Articles 5.15D1 and 5.61B, which require a minimum 1-car garage for all single and 2-family dwellings, shall not apply. Article 5.61A, requiring a minimum of 3 off-street parking spaces per dwelling unit, shall not apply. And Article 5.61C1, which states that required parking spaces must be located on the same lot as the dwelling unit, shall not apply. The establishment plan shows a combination of 5 housing types, including 3 varieties of detached single-family homes, cottages and courtyard villas, and an arrangement of townhomes not to exceed 110 units. The concept plan also indicates sidewalks, street trees, landscape buffering, 9 drainage ponds, and 3 points of ingress-egress off of South 37th Street and 1 off of Garwood Road, respectively. If rezoned the planned development under Ordinance 40, the properties are only permitted the uses of their R2 and urban residential base zoning districts. There are no additional uses permitted. On July 10th, 149 adjacent property owners were notified about the public hearing by mail. We received 100 responses exactly. 2 are in favor, 98 are opposed. I'm going to read through the names and addresses of the 60 that did not include comments, and then we will let Joanne read the ones that included letters. So first, in favor, were Steve Shore of Morelli General Contractor at 136 South 2nd Street, and Mike Frame of Trademark Construction. Address here is 315 Garwood Road. In opposition, we have Charles Osterman, 310 Garwood Road, James Allison at 4400 South C Street, Evelyn Villerin at 212 Henley Road, Charles Dumlau at 405 Henley Road, Lonnie and Jan Lawhorn at 2416 Reeveston Road, Dakota Ritchie at 2805 Reeveston Road, Zachary Patterson at 2700 Reeveston Road, Peggy Galt at 2709 Reeveston Road, Sherry Haviland at 2900 Reeveston Road, Randy and Ann Stoley at 2808 Reeveston Road, Ashley Spicer at 2811 Reeveston Road, Donald and Sue Duke at 2817 Reeveston Road, Carol Judy at 2821 Reeveston Road, Alicia Thompson at 2921 Reeveston Road, Richard Lee at 2905 Reeveston Road, Marvin Cooper at 1915 South E Street, Donna Hiddle at 428 South 19th Street, Garvin Lemon at 3709 Sandbridge, James McLean at 303 Stone Creek Road, Joe and Star Johnson at 1130 Danbury Lane, Jane McKinney at 3201 Berwyn Lane, Jody and Jim McKinney at 3220 Avon Lane, Dwayne Locker at 3714 Sandbridge Drive, Jeff and Shelley Culbertson at 406 Henley Road, Matt and Sarah Sturley at 3731 Sandbridge Drive, Alfred and Lee Hogg at 3591 Dorothy Lane, Derek and Heather Steneman at 3715 Sandbridge Drive, Patricia Wright at 4013 Quail Hill Drive, Gary Hubble at 3431 Bachmeyer Road, Joanne Treed at 3310 Bachmeyer Road, Thomas Lucas at 3501 Bachmeyer Road, David Pointus at 3535 Bachmeyer Road, Sandy Witherly at 3210 Bachmeyer Road, Glenda Keller at 3108 Bachmeyer Road, James Stinson at 3560 Dorothy Lane, Courtney Miller at 4018 Bachmeyer Road, Megan Wilmot at 3402 Bachmeyer Road, Brent Swinney at 3306 Bachmeyer Road, Robert Abbott at 302 Cedar Cliff Road, Gary and Linda Groves at 400 Stone Creek Road, R. Darrell Watt at 616 Garwood, Corey and Sarah George at 1070 Radcliffe Court, Catherine Marsteller at 1111 Archdale Drive, John and Gloria Cost at 1121 Archdale Drive, Alfred Armstead at 3704 Sandbridge, Judy and Rob Houseman at 3707 Sandbridge, Curtis and Robin Witchert at 900 Garwood Road, Violet Thompson at 660 South 36th Street, Thong Nguyen at 3703 South Ridge Drive, Stacy and Gary Newsom at 3604 Waterford Street, Diane and Al Bledsoe at 3608 Waterford Street, Gilbert and Suzanne Puckett at 3501 Geraldine Lane, Alan Paul at 3306 Geraldine Lane, Ron Mays at 3300 Geraldine Lane, Ralph Johnson at 3612 Waterford Street, Zach Parker at 3605 Waterford Street, Cheryl LaForge at 620 South 36th Street, Tim and Deanna Davis at 408 Stone Creek, and William and Kay Miller at 4100 Hodgen Road. I'll turn it over to Joanne now.
So these are all opposed to, and they have very long comments, most of them. Gerald Redmeyer at 3611 Bachmeyer. His concerns were the traffic, noise, speed, EMS vehicles. Terry A. Bauer at 4000 Quail Hill. She had some issues with the water, flooding pressure, the sewer, the current and future issues, the traffic at 37th and feeder roads, the taxpayer funds to be used to help the developer, the density, the residents and the cars. No other developer wants to touch this. Philip and Sandra Becknell, 3601 Geraldine Lane. The proposal has too much of a load on all existing utilities and roads. Randy and Kim Toshlag at 3718 Sandbridge Drive, opposing until plans for infrastructure to include improved roads, traffic patterns, and water runoff, water and sewer improvements are made to handle the increased development. Thomas L. Donat, 3490 Dorothy Lane. A homeowner during the earlier meeting stated not one shovel of dirt should be turned until the water drainage, sewer, water pressure issues are correctly assessed, corrected, and tested. Assertions from the city engineers are meaningless when homeowners present photographic evidence of flooding and damage, bills and receipts. To date, Richmond is 2 inches ahead of normal rainfall totals. Engineers have flawed predictive models. Homeowners live in the real world. 05 Bachmeyer Road. I am opposed because our backyard floods already from the houses west of us, and I can't imagine houses east of us with a higher elevation. We will also need a traffic light at the intersection of South 37th and Bachmeyer because of the traffic. Carrie Colentus at 3726 Sandbridge. Number 1, water drainage. Has this issue been resolved? Number 2, traffic. 37th, Bachmeyer, Garwood are not built for 400 additional homes. Number 3, the density, congestion in R2 area, overcrowding, parking, dumpsters. Number 4, taxpayer dollars, out-of-town developer requesting taxpayer dollars to help fund his project. These funds are needed elsewhere in the city to word, and make alternate to businesses. Sorry. Number 5, the first petition, the developer stated multiple times that he could not do without the 220 apartments. All or nothing, one has changed. Number 6, the demand. Are you confident this city can support the number of housing units proposed? What happens if unable to fill the units built? Number 7, R3. What happened to the plan to add R3 housing? Number 8, the safety. Highly traveled roads for EMS services for Arbor Trace. Do we have police and fire support for 400 additional homes? Number 9, the townhouse condos. What guarantee do we have that investors will be prohibited from purchasing and leasing? Are these apartments in disguise? One is from Randy Colentus at 3726 Sandbridge Drive. The major issues for this development in April of 2024 were water, drainage, density of adding the housing and population to the roads that aren't going to be able to handle the traffic and the use of the TIF dollars. Nothing has been done to correct these issues. Several council members were a hard no because of the TIF money. Richmond Planning should not approve this development. Instead, move Richmond forward to address the issues above and get the roads widened to accommodate future growth. Last time this went to planning, it was approved. I talked with a couple planning members. They voted to approve based on what the mayor wanted. I was told they would be removed from the planning board. Wow, how pathetic is that? They're again doing the wrong thing.
Read that again.
Yeah, let's hear that.
I talked with a couple planning members. They voted to approve based on what the mayor wanted. I was told if they voted against it, they would be removed from the planning board. Wow, how pathetic is that?
Okay, guys, your jobs are on the line.
Oh, my gosh.
I would
Hate
like
to lose all that income.
Yeah. I do feel like I have to respond to that. We have, we're supposed to have 11 members. I don't remember it ever being 11 members. You can't find people to do this job, to come up here and sit here and they're going to make somebody mad on any major decision that goes on. There's no pay involved. It's just the, I guess, the honor of serving on this. And I'm just having some problems trying to figure this out. You know, if any of you are interested in this highly prestigious job, I would suggest you make a suggestion to the mayor, because you don't know how many times I turned this offer down before I finally agreed to come back on the commission. You know, these people are volunteers. And, you know, you know how frustrating it is for you to come out here and, you know, spend a 2+ hour meeting already, and this is your 4th meeting to come to. Or 3rd with the Plan Commission. I feel like that's quite an insult to the members on this board. And the mayor does make some appointments. Mr. Steen is here as a representative of the engineering department. It's part of his job to be here. And by the way, he's retiring. This is his last year on that. The mayor didn't fire him.
That's the truth.
We have an appointment from the park board. Ms. Washington over there is, the park board makes a choice there. The county commissioners picked one Democrat and one Republican. We're a politically balanced board to avoid partisanship like that. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank you all. You've been on this, what, 28 years, 27 years?
27.
27 years. And I think they deserve better than this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
There again, doing the wrong thing for Richmond. This has been going on for 50+ years. This is part of the reason Richmond isn't growing. People need a reason to move to Richmond or stay here. Planning and council need to focus on building a main Richmond area in our downtown, not a development that won't be completed and ultimately deteriorate the existing neighborhood around 37th Street. Reed is failing. They should not be in with Paul Lingle. Reed is desperate to sell this property to anyone. This development is only to bail Reed and Paul out. They could care less about our community. Please vote no. John and Vivian Bartkus at 3730 Sandbridge. No need to approve this petition as land at that intersection is already zoned appropriately. No need to devalue these parcels as they will devalue the surrounding listed properties. Density is too great for the current roads, drainage, etc., to handle the scope of an increase. Approving the petition will lower surrounding properties at Sandbridge Hills. As my property sits approximately 15 feet lower than the crest of the hill, proposed 2 homes will be the view from the back of my property. Using the money for private development, which has never been done in the past, is a money grab by the developer. Melissa Voiles at 3734 Sandbridge. Possibly other folks have investments in this program. I don't think government money should ever be invested in a private property development. Property all coded as R2, no high density. Projects should be forced. We have lived here for many years. Don't change rules after the fact so someone else can get rich. I do love my home like everyone in the subdivision. We do not want more homes in our lovely community. Charles Maurer at 3812 Sandbridge. Too many houses for the size of the property. Streets in the area can't handle the traffic this development will create. Julia A. Clark at 4030 Bachmeyer. Traffic, noise, parties, beer cans, drugs, fighting. This is happening all over Richmond. I paid for a quiet place to live. Police called all the time, and the traffic is bad on this road. Passing on hills and yellow lines leave a decent neighborhood. Neil and Sharon Watterson at 3530 Dorothy Lane. The proposed change does not address any of the concerns brought up by the residents adjacent to the property when council voted no on the first proposal. John and Bess Place, 3551 Bachmeyer. I am opposed to this petition of South 37th Street properties. Here are my reasons why. In the first place, the proposal was not well thought out. It is foolish to build some very small dwellings in the midst of much larger and beautiful homes. Who would want to purchase a home next to such small homes due to lowering of the value of a home? Very small homes often, not always, but often, are homes where deterioration of the scenery around the home and the home itself takes place. Number two, there are simply too many homes compacted into such a small area. There needs to be more space. Obviously, the owner of 11th Street Development is trying to make all the money he can without thinking of aesthetics, space, comfort, and privacy of the owners. Money is obviously his overriding desire. This overcrowding of homes plan does not fit into the style of the homes surrounding it, where each home has plenty of space and each home is of similar value. This plan decor does not fit into the area. Number three, we already have plenty of traffic in our area. The addition of many hundreds more would cause, at the usual morning and later afternoon traffic, a lot of congestion on our streets. Number four, are there businesses presently or later that are planning on moving into our area, which would necessitate more housing? A great deal of the people who live out of town but are not really far and work in Richmond would not sell their home and move into Richmond. I say this because the presenter said that out-of-town people would represent a large number of people in Richmond's workforce who would sell their homes and move into Richmond. Moving is not easy, and most people would rather drive the extra few miles and move. I am not opposed to using the land to build homes with larger tracts of land that are similar to those around the neighborhood, but it makes more sense to fit in and not be so crowded and different. If the developer presented a different plan that did not present so many people in such a small place, such a small space, he would be more successful in gaining approval. William and Karen Mascotti at 3531 Dorothy Lane. Congestion, roads in bad shape, in part on surrounding areas. Refused construction plans last go-round. We don't want rents to buildings that cannot afford. We make jobs, not buildings. Oh, we need jobs, not buildings. Robert White, 315 Stone Creek Road. Retention Pond, Stone Creek Road. The city of the Richmond has done a horrible job of maintaining this pond. Why do you want to build more? Come out and take a look at this mess. Take care of what you have before building another mess. Leonard and Lynn Harmon, 621 South 36th Street. Drainage will be a major problem. Unwanted or needed extra traffic. Overpopulated area. Loose country setting. This town won't uphold this type of housing. Our area will lose its value. Ron and Jean Pyle, 650 Hale Circle. We are opposed to this project because it will cause more traffic for our Hale Terrace area. Also, we have a lot of problems with the flooding of water in our area also. Chad and Megan Carpenter, 1110 Worthington Court. The new proposal does not change much compared to the old plan. There are too many properties proposed to occupy the space. We need more residential properties with space, not properties that have no yard or personal space. Being a young family ourselves, we would want space to grow and have our own space. The proposal shown properties with no privacy as have shared courtyards or units within arm's reach of each other. Not to mention our roadways cannot handle the extra traffic. I also worry about the schools with this many properties. If we expect this many properties to house established families, our local elementary school cannot take the amount of additional children. We do not have staff or space for it, which would potentially be a negative effect to my children's education. We need a 1/4 to a 1/2 acre property to resemble Sandbridge Estates, Winfield, Woodgate, Hunters Point, etc. This would allow family space to grow and want to stay in our community. Lastly, we had 3 inches of rain just last week, and the water rose to the level of the roadway on South 37th Street. There is no way adding hundreds of properties will make this much worse and be a hazard to everyone on these roads. As a young family, we desire community growth, but we strongly believe the current proposal does not add a positive benefit to our community. Ellen Reynolds at 417 South 33rd Street. Traffic congestion, safety, roads not equipped for the traffic, taxpayer dollars used by the private development. Joy A. Dahl, 3804 Sandbridge Drive. Number 1, water and sewer problems. Number 2, road and traffic congestion. Number 3, property values. Colin Reynolds at 417 South 33rd. Do not support taxpayer dollars for private development. Concerns for increased traffic and safety of current residents. Roads do not support anticipated traffic with new development. Charlotte White, 300 South 48th Street. This will increase the traffic on Garwood, which is already busy. Al and Carol Dillon at 430 South 33rd. Number 1, the traffic concerns, the volume on Bachmeyer, through traffic from Geraldine to Dorothy to avoid 37th Street. Number 2, taxpayer funds, should not use TIF money to help fund a subdivision for above average home prices. Number 3, the water concerns, where is the water going? Current issues will worsen with new roads and residences. Marilyn Agee at 3601 Waterford. I have lived at the Winfield entrance for over 30 years, and the traffic on Hodgen has become so heavy at times, it is often very difficult to pull onto the road. The noise from the speeding cars from the four-way stop has become much worse, and this will only increase by adding so many homes on South 37th. Please vote no on this ordinance proposing so many residents in such a small and busy area. Sue Kappa at 3520 Winfield. Number 1, the traffic and the noise problems will only worsen with this new subdivision. Number 2, the taxpayer dollars should not be used to help fund a development for homes not affordable by so many of Richmond's residents. Please reject this ordinance. Portia Hughes, 3516 Winfield. Flooding issues will only increase. Jan Parker at 3111 Dorothy Lane. Living on Dorothy Lane, I see so many cars that cut through our neighborhood to and from Henley and South 37th, creating safety concerns in an otherwise quiet, nice neighborhood. I also have concerns about the amount of stormwater runoff in this proposed development, only to worsen with so much hardscape and homes that would be added. In addition, the idea of taxpayer funds to help develop this crowded neighborhood for homes above the average affordability in Richmond is completely wrong. Please reject this ordinance to allow this type of development in this busy area of town. Rose and Carl Jensen at 300 Stone Creek Road. This new plot plan changes nothing. The problems that were brought to your attention 3 months ago have not been addressed or fixed. Water, sewer, stormwater, runoff, traffic, street conditions, etc. Vote no. Cami Gomez, 3524 Winfield Drive. Traffic on Hodgen makes exiting from Winfield very different. Speeding cars from Hodgen to Bachmeyer, as well as blind spot from Hill north of Winfield, is unsafe. James and Lisa Fout, 3500 Geraldine. We have been through this before. Has the studies and data been collected for the traffic, water, sewer, and drainage to be able to accommodate this type of a housing development? Alan and Terry Paul, 3306 Geraldine. I hold great concern about traffic on Geraldine Lane. This will only enhance the through traffic issues currently taking place. Totally object to taxpayer funds being used to assist the development. Connie Locker, 3714 Sandbridge Drive. Issues. Number one is the water issues still exist. Number two, the traffic concerns still exist. Where is the study results? Number three, the developer wants $10. That money needs to be used for existing neighborhoods that are needing improvements in downtown and for enhancing the community. Number four, develop R2 only on South 37th Street, not opposed to that. The number five, townhomes are just a two-story apartment. This is a spin on what has already been determined, not appropriate for the area. Susan Yeager, 306 Stone Creek. I remain strongly opposed to this development primarily because the sewer, the stormwater issues have not been addressed. Is there going to be action on the Lockmuller Group engineering report, recommendations for resolving stormwater and sewer issues on the Bachmeyer Trace subdivision? If any action has been taken, residents have not been notified. There is apparently another engineering study being conducted by the Scott Ditch capacity. Why not wait for those results on this new study before attempting to bring the development back for a vote? Certainly it is going to take time, but approval of the development should not be given without this study. Is the Lockmuller Group study going to be considered in this decision? I also oppose this because of the primary use of the taxpayer funds. The council gave thoughtful consideration to the information presented in April and noted that there is strong opposition from many citizens and property owners. It will be a huge disappointment if the Planning Commission overturns that decision. Sharon Phillips, 3708 South Ridge Drive. When moving to Sandbridge, we were confident the tract of land would remain R2 instead of an overdense area, and taxpayer dollars should not be used to fund and plan of this kind. It is already difficult at times to exit left out of Sandbridge due to the blind spot from the hill north of our entrance, especially combined with a sometimes steady stream of traffic coming from Hodgen. This many added residents will only make this problem much worse. Charles and Elizabeth Foster at 3219 Dorothy Lane. Our concerns are the present infrastructure of water, roads, and sewage and sewer lines are in need of updating and are frail. Roads are insufficient widths in the surrounding areas. They can't support the traffic now, let alone the construction of this project would bring. Absolutely no taxpayer funds should be used. The residents of this area have already said a firm no to this type of project earlier this summer. If any city official is involved or to gain monetarily, that should be considered collusionary. We are not opposed to growth and development, just not in this already congested area. Dawn Auto at 1120 Danbury Lane. These are some of her concerns. Flooding from the stormwater, serious problem for 37th. Already experienced big problem in the Sand Bridge and Bachmeyer Trace. The traffic. Both feeder roads, parallel roads, are narrow and busy from cars going to and from South 37th Street. The density, 26 townhouse buildings combined with 178 homes, still way too dense. Taxpayer dollars should not help fund homes of this kind. How is it that they need TIF dollars and this density to fund infrastructure, normally paid by the developers? Stephanie Stout, 3351 Geraldine Lane, concerned with the traffic on Geraldine due to 37th Street to Henley traffic. Last but not least, Diana Hauser at 415 Cedar Cliff Road. This area is already too congested with traffic from Route 40 and the apartment and housing already there. The sewer system here can't handle the neighborhood now.
Thank you, Joanne.
Joanne. On July 10th, the public hearing was advertised in Western Wayne News. On July 12th, 2024, a sign was placed on the northwest corner of the property notifying passersby of the July 24th public hearing. Planning staff consulted with all city departments and utilities to determine any objections based on public health and safety. No health and safety objections were raised. Staff recommends approval for amending the zoning map at 0 South 37th Street from R2 to planned development with an R2 and UR based zoning designations based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, Richmond Rising Community Action Plan compatibility. The proposed plan development is compatible with the Community Action Plan's future land use map, which identifies the property to be developed as part of its traditional neighborhood place type moving forward. The plan further clarifies that appropriate land use attributes within a traditional neighborhood include, quote, single-family detached units as the main type of housing, while single-family attached units such as townhomes can be strategically integrated with the single-family detached units. Additionally, the development supports several of the plan's objectives and policy goals related to growing the city's built environment, including improving, quote, the city's collective ability to deliver attractive sites for development and redevelopment, while promoting residential infill within current boundaries rather than developing along outer edges, which could place a strain on community resources. Further, the location of the proposed plan development supports the plan's call to, quote, allow for developments that are compact with convenient access to jobs, services, and amenities. Finally, the development supports the plan's housing-specific objectives and policy goals, most notably its calls to use strategic and planned development to guide growth, to diversify the city's housing stock to better serve the needs of residents of all ages and abilities, and to encourage residential development in contiguous neighborhoods. Number 2, current conditions and character of current structures and uses in each district. The combined properties are a large agricultural field surrounded in all directions by single-family houses or vacant land with single or multi-family zoning designations. The subject properties are adjacent to the Winfield, Hill Terrace, and Sandbridge Hills subdivisions, along with several unplatted single-family houses to the north, east, and southeast. Garwood Acres, Bachmeyer Trace, and Ridenauer Place are all in close proximity to the subject property. The proposed development would cohere with the broader trend of residential development within this part of the city. Most sections of the subdivisions noted above have been platted within the past 30 to 40 years, and South 37th Street was installed roughly 25 years ago to accommodate the anticipated increase of traffic and development between East National Road and Hodgen Road. Number 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. The most desirable use for the subject properties is residential. The properties are currently zoned medium-density single-family residential, and, as noted above, the proposed land use would be consistent with the city's goals and development trends in this area. Moreover, the housing project would help address Wayne County's well-documented need for new housing. Number 4, the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. The development should not have a substantial impact on neighboring or nearby property values. The proposed lot sizes and character imagery included in the district ordinance suggest that the detached single-family homes in this development will be of comparable value to many of the existing nearby properties. The proposed cottages and townhomes in subdistricts B and C will be smaller than the existing homes in nearby subdivisions, but should have a limited effect on the property values of the surrounding area. Number 5, responsible development and growth. The proposed development addresses one of the city's greatest current needs by creating infill residential growth within an already established residential region of the city, with existing city service and public utility capacity, within close proximity to existing jobs, services, and amenities. This is responsible development and growth. Number 6, the City of Richmond's Climate Action Plan. The proposed development supports the Climate Action Plan's Strategy 10F, which encourages planning and zoning processes that promote dense and compact development methods as a means to reduce outward suburban sprawl and therefore reduce vehicular miles traveled within the city. And then 7 is a series of compliances from Article 4 of the UDO that I'll run through. So A is the proposed development is a clear benefit to the community. Yes, the Tracy Cross and Associates study commissioned by the Economic Development Corporation of Wayne County has demonstrated a serious need for Richmond to boost its housing stock across the spectrum of housing types and prices. The study indicates that Richmond alone can absorb an estimated 95 new townhome and single-family detached units each year for the next decade. B, the proposed land use is predominantly in line with either the existing base zoning districts or proposed base zoning districts' permitted uses and special exception uses. Yes, the proposed land use is predominantly in line with both the R2 base zoning district as well as the proposed urban residential subdistricts' permitted uses and special exception uses. C, minimum land area requirement of at least 5 acres. Yes, the combined parcels are approximately 79 acres. D, land use consistency. R2 must be at least 75 single, 2, or 3 family residential, while urban residential must be at least 60% single or multifamily residential. Yes, the establishment plan is currently 100% residential. And E, open space. R2 shall have at least 25% open space, and urban residential shall also have at least 25% open space. It is currently unclear whether the establishment plan satisfies Article 4's open space requirement. This will need to be established prior to the approval of the detailed development plan, which is phase 2 of the plan development process. There is one written commitment, which is just if approved, the property will have 2 years from the date of the approval to either submit a detailed development plan or request a one-time 6-month extension from the Department of Infrastructure and Development. Otherwise, the approved district ordinance and establishment plan will expire per UDO Article 9.10F, and the property will revert back to its R2 designation. And then finally, to just kind of briefly reiterate something that the mayor and others have stated, this is the first phase of a 3-phase process to approve a plan development. So this is phase 1. This is strictly a zoning map amendment. So this evening, you are being asked to assess whether this conceptual plan is appropriate use of this property. The concerns that have been raised tonight are important, but most of them are not addressed at this stage of the development process. If this is approved and it moves on to the detailed development plan process, the developer would be required to provide, among many other things, a traffic study, a stormwater drainage plan, a utility plan. They would need to provide civil engineering drawings that would then be reviewed by licensed engineers and all of the relevant people within the city. And then again, we would have a public hearing here to address those issues more head-on during the second phase. So again, before we can get to that, though, we just first have to approve the zoning. So I want to make it clear to the commissioners that if you vote to approve or recommend approval of this evening, you're not recommending that construction begin, or you're not signing off on any issues related to stormwater or financing or traffic impact studies. Those come later in the process. At this point, we can really only speculate about those things because we don't ask the developer to provide them until phase 2. And with that, I'd be happy to address any questions that you might have.
Have any questions for Mr. Purvis? You know, we have so many questions that come up that are answered by the fact that we have this different phases that we go through. And I think it's important that we emphasize that, you know, this is our planning laws and rules that we have in place. And while many of them are local, they're based on model legislation, recommended legislation. Can you think of any municipality that does not have the same type of structure where you go through different phases?
I believe this sequencing of the plan development is actually state statute that we've
Okay,
incorporated.
so we are following state statute with this.
Yeah.
So the demands of, requiring the traffic study and requiring all this stuff while in this stage is contrary to state law.
Correct, yes.
I think that's important. No questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Purvis. We're ready for discussion.
What's to discuss?
Well, I know, but, I do feel, you folks are in your third meeting here. This has been 2.5 hours. We owe you some explanation of, and be able to emphasize that we have listened to you. It's just that, we have rules and practices that we have to go by. And we want to be consistent in that. There was when we were going through the letter, there was apparently somebody put together an opposition to Ordinance 40, 2014 guidance plan here about what you should be objecting to in your letters. And so much of and when somebody sent in returned their letter, they attached this to it as their explanation as to why they were opposed. And, these are all things that we don't look at this point. The water, the sewer, the traffic development. No other developer wants to touch this. Well, it's a pretty expensive operation to go after. There's not a lot of developers that can take on this side. I don't think there's any locally that can do it. So I don't want you to feel as though this body isn't listening. It's just that we have standards that we have followed, and it may be it doesn't pass. But we all have, we're just trying to do our job, I guess is what I'm saying.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I would like to make comment. I'm anxious to see this go forward because in our next phase, we'll finally be able to address the issues you've brought to our attention. And that's very important to me. I can assure you that I'm not going to vote favorably on a plan that doesn't address all the issues you've brought up, but I will be voting for it.
Okay. Other discussion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve this ordinance.
Second.
Finding of facts.
We have a
written commitment.
motion and a second to approve recommendation for ordinance 40, 2024. Would you please call the roll?
Michael Devine,
Aye.
Joe Price,
Aye.
Greg Steens,
Aye.
Rob Tidrow,
Aye.
Gary Turner,
Aye.
Kiana Washington,
No.
Bruce Whistle.
Aye. That's 6 votes in favor, 1 opposed, so it does go to Common Council with a recommendation for approval. Any other business come before us tonight? The filing deadline was today for the next meeting. We know we have at least one.
And we actually have an additional week this time because there's 5 weeks between now and the next meeting. So we could have something else as well.
Okay, good. Okay. Chair will accept a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. So you beat me to it.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, WGTV, Channel 11, part of the Whitewater Community Television family of stations.